Alrighty, welcome to the 109th edition of Before the Battle here live on YouTube. My name is Nick Baldwin of BloodElbow.com. I'm joined as always by Jed Meshew of MMAfighting.com. Wes Riddle, he was here for a week, but things get in the way. It's Wes Riddle after all. He of MMAcycle.com unable to join the program this week for UFC Fight Night 130-hour preview of this Sunday's card, which goes down in Liverpool. But Jed, you're here, I think every week. I don't know when the last time you've missed it before the battle. It's been a long time. How are you doing?
I don't think I've ever missed one since I became a regular participant in the show.
Jed?
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. That is...
What the fuck happened? You could hear me a second ago.
Wait, say something? Oh, Jed is gone. It seems like somehow my volume just turned all the way down to 0. That shouldn't have happened. I don't know why that happened, but Jed should be back in a second. But I'll just introduce the card while we wait for Jed. Jed, can you
hear me?
Yes, I can. Okay, we are good.
I touched literally nothing, so I have no idea what the fuck just happened.
Nor did I, but anyways, we don't need to waste any time.
My point was I haven't missed a show since I started regularly on the show, so press on. Wes Riddle is useless as almost always.
He's at the beach, and I don't know if that's a good excuse to miss a show, but I guess it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's go back to UFC Fight Night 129. It went down in Chile, in Santiago, Chile. We had Kamaru Usman defeat Damian Maia via lopsided unanimous decision to pick up the biggest win of his rising and promising and young career. Let us go back to that card for our results. What do you have for us when it comes to our picks, our DraftKings, our underdog pick of the week, and of course, our bonuses?
So I believe you retain. You and I tied on picks at 9-4. We had the exact same picks because I changed my pick from Michel Prazeres to Zach Cummings after everybody made weight fine. And that ended up costing me. Had I left it, I would have been your winner at 10-3. But instead, we tied, and I believe you had the belt last, so you retain. Wes went 8-5 on picks. We all went a big fat goose egg on performance and underdogs. Nobody got any damn thing right. So that was neat.
Who retains for that? Was it?
I do. I had it last. And then Wes is now your DK champion with 353 points. Not a good week for any of us, really. So, yeah, just a shitty card on paper, and it played out shitty for us all generally across the board. So that's it. We're ready to go to this week. And this week, we don't even have Wes Riddle's shit with us. So it's just you and me talking fights that neither of us care about.
And we'll also talk a little bit Bellator 200 afterwards. Jed, remind me of that when we finish Liverpool. If I do forget, I'll try not to. But let's go down to UFC Fight Night 130. It, of course, is the UFC's long-awaited, highly anticipated debut in Liverpool, England, this Sunday night. Yes, it is a Sunday show. It's early in the morning for anyone in North America. Good time for the people over in England, so good card all around as far as that goes. Not so great card as far as the fights go, but the main event, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Darren Till, is outstanding. Very important fight for the welterweight division. I can't wait for it. The rest of the card, not so much. Nonetheless, we will talk about it. It kicks off on UFC Fight Pass at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. We go to the women's bantamweight division first. We got Lena Elbow Queen Landsberg taking on Gina Danger Mazzani. Landsberg is the slight favorite here with the comeback on Mazzani. Last time I saw her right around plus 100 or plus 110. Jed, do you like Landsberg here or Mazzani?
It's an even fight now, according to oddsmakers, last I saw. So, yeah, I mean, you're getting some movement around somewhere, but Mazzani is a slight underdog places, even in looks like at least many places, if not most. So, dead even fight, and frankly, that's fair. This is a fight between two people who aren't tremendous, but, you know, that's just kind of the way the MMA works for the UFC these days. Probably, I guess I'm going to take Landsberg, but I don't feel any type of way or confident about it. Like, it's just Landsberg's a little bit more of a known commodity at this point. If you look at the records, the best thing either of them has done is Lena Landsberg lasted a round against Cristiano Cyborg. So that's more impressive than basically anything Gina Mazzani's done, who got absolutely dump trucked by Sarah McMahon in basically instantaneously. So yeah, just give me Lena Landsberg, but fuck if I know what's going on here, man. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about this fight. I don't have anything to add. The fact that this is an even fight doesn't surprise me. That seems to make a lot of sense. Lena Landsberg, of course, is coming off that stoppage loss to Aspen Ladd, beat Lucy Pudilova, who is now ranked 12 in the division for some reason. I don't really know. Landsberg, I guess, is probably the striker of the two, while Mazzani is the grappler. I suppose that's fair to some degree. Landsberg is smaller here. I actually thought she was a bit. She is taller, but the reach goes to Mazzani. I'm just gonna go Landsberg. Yeah, why not? I think she's a bit more dangerous, and I guess that seals the deal for me. Give me Elbow Queen via decision. In a not so great start to UFC Liverpool. Last fight on Fight Pass, we got middleweights Elias the Spartan Theodoro taking on Trevor Hot Sauce Smith. Jed, Elias Theodoro's a sizable favorite here, I think for good reason. Do you pick him here, or does the American pull off an upset?
I think Elias Theodoro should be a favorite. I think he's too big of a favorite just because, yeah, he's going to win this fight, but should he really be a minus 400 favorite against a guy who's not a bad fighter? Trevor Smith isn't a great fighter, but, he's a perfectly serviceable middleweight. And the reality is these guys do a lot of similar things in general. Yeah, Theodore does them better, but it's not like Theodore is some type of monstrous hitter or huge, finishing threat out there. Theodore's gonna win a cardio kickboxing decision here. He's going to win, but the odds are a little bit out of whack as deep as I've seen him. But that being said, give me Theodore anyway.
Gotta agree here. I think Elias Theodoro has the advantage on the feet. I know his striking offense isn't the most effective. It's a lot of kicking, a lot of meaningless shots. I say that. I mean, I like Elias as a person a lot, but he's just not the most dangerous person on the feet. His ground and pound is decent. His wrestling is good. His grappling is pretty good. He's fairly well-rounded when it comes to everything in mixed martial arts, to be honest. I think he has more ways to win here. Trevor Smith is a very good wrestler. He's good on the ground and good at controlling you, but I mean, it comes down to what I already said. I think Theodore just has more ways to win. I think he's probably able to keep the standing. His wrestling defense is not bad, and standing up, Smith isn't the best. Give me Elias Theodoro via decision. We move to the women's flyweight division. We have the debut of Cage Warriors champion Molly McCann. She's, of course, from Liverpool, so this is a very exciting fight for the Liverpool fans. She is taking on Canadian Jillian Robertson, the Savage. Molly McCann, Meatball, is her nickname. She is a sizable favorite here. Again, I think probably with good reason. Do you favor here, or does the Canadian pull off the upset?
Give me Molly McCann. I've seen her fight a couple of times in Cage Warriors or whatever, and frankly, I know just about nothing about Robertson. I can't recall ever watching her fight. Just got really nothing there at all for it. Even though I know I've seen her fight, I can't, I just have zero remembering of the Emily Whitmer fight coming off that tough season. And I don't remember almost anything about the tough season itself. It was just all very forgettable. The main thing I recall from that tough season is that everyone on it, with the exception of the very, very top of that sort of group, were just absolutely, they were the rawest fighters. Most of them, a lot of them couldn't grapple at all. So they're just cardio kickboxers and stuff. And it was just kind of this weird thing. And McCann's a decent fighter, so give me McCann.
I like what you said. I actually have never seen Molly McCann fight, believe it or not, but I believe the hype. She's a big favorite. People are excited to see her debut. I'll believe it when I see it, I guess. I mean, it's not a fight I'm super anticipating just because I'm not as familiar with Molly as perhaps I should be. Maybe I should do my homework. Maybe I should watch Cage Warriors more often, but nonetheless, I don't. On the other hand, Jillian Robertson, she is 1-0 in the UFC. She, of course, subbed Emily Whitmire, as you mentioned, Jed, at the Ultimate Fighter finale last December. I just don't think she's skilled enough all around to defeat Molly McCann. I think this is a setup fight. The matchmakers know what they're doing, and the odds makers know what they're talking about. This is a fight for Molly to lose. She's going to win here, and I think she'll win fairly decisively here. Let's say a decision. We move on to Bradley Scott versus newcomer Carlo Pedersoli. He, of course, is coming off a win over UFC veteran Nicholas Dalby in his last fight. That was a Cage Warriors bout. Fairly impressive stuff. It was a split, but nonetheless, a win over pretty good talent. Do you like him against Brad Scott, or does Bear get back into the winning column?
Do you remember how long ago Pedersoli got in on this fight by chance?
I don't exactly, but pretty recent, because I remember the Dalby fight wasn't all that long ago.
No, I mean, well, Scott was supposed to face somebody. Who I don't remember.
Someone Tuhali or
Turai?
Yeah.
Salim Turai. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name actually. But I can picture his face in my mind. Yeah, but I just don't remember how long ago they got canceled. But I mean, if you look at Brad Scott's record, he's won one and lost one for the last like 6 years, and all of his wins have come against mostly whatever, and his losses have come against fighters that are good. So he's a pretty good gatekeeper in that regard, and this is going to let us know whether Pedersoli is kind of in the former or the latter category. Personally, I know the Dalby fight was a split decision, but Nicholas Dalby's a pretty good fighter, and the only real concern I have here is that how short a notice this was, and I don't recall off the top of my head, but I do think Pedersoli is just kind of a better, well-rounded fighter than Brad Scott is. I know this is a 170 fight, but in a lot of ways it sort of feels like a middleweight fight, if you know what I mean by that. And I just sort of think Pedersoli is a little bit better at doing all of the like very nondescript, solid things in an MMA fight that middleweight's known for, and I think he's just going to beat Brad Scott kind of everywhere it goes. Give me Pedersoli by decision.
I do wonder if the weight cut will affect Pedersoli at all. I don't know if he's exactly a big welterweight, but he did just fight literally a couple weeks ago, I think it was. And so you never know. But assuming that all goes okay, he makes 171 with no problems. I do think he'll get the job done in his debut against the veteran in Brad Bear Scott. Scott is a good fighter. He's a good grappler. His striking is getting better, but everything I've heard about Pedersoli, I don't know how much potential he exactly has, but I think he has the tools it takes to get past a fighter in Brad Scott. I just think Carlo Pedersoli has more ways to win. He seems to be a pretty good striker. I think he'll probably outpoint Brad Scott over the course of 15 minutes. So give me Pedersoli to move to 1-0 in his UFC career, and of course in his debut with a promotion. Next up, we go up to 185 pounds in, to me, the most interesting fight we've talked about thus far. It's still not the best fight, but maybe that just sort of speaks volumes about what this card really is. We got Daniel Kelly, Old Man Dan himself, taking on the returning Tom Breese. I'm very intrigued to see Breese back in action. He has not fought since June 4th, 2016. He last fought when Luke Rockhold was the UFC middleweight champion. Since then, Michael Bisping knocked out Luke Rockhold that same night. Georges St-Pierre choked out Michael Bisping last November, and Robert Whittaker became the undisputed champion when GSP vacated. Crazy times for Tom Breese. I know he pulled out of a fight against Oluwole Bamboshe the day of the fight, just hours before he was supposed to fight. I think he's had some different issues, but it's good to see him back. Does he get the job done against Old Man Dan, or does Kelly turn back the clock yet again and get back into the winning column?
I'm sorely tempted to take Dan Kelly just because he's really good at winning as an underdog, and there are some questions about Tom Breese. This is his first fight at middleweight, at least in a while, if not ever. I think that's probably going to be good for Breese. He was always a really big fucking welterweight, so probably going to be a little bit better. Plus, he's just moving to a worse division, so that's helpful. I'm taking Tom Breeze just because I think he is a little bit better of a striker than Dan Kelly and probably good enough to avoid getting taken down by Dan Kelly, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Judo Dan just did it again randomly. Yeah, give me Tom Breeze, who I still think of as a pretty good prospect. So yeah, give me Tom Breeze.
I like Tom Breeze here as well. It wouldn't shock me at all if Dan Kelly, as I said, turns back the clock, looks like he's 30 again and wins. We've seen it happen before. I wouldn't be shocked if if it happens again. But ultimately, Tom Breeze, when he's at his best, he's a pretty good fighter. He's coming off, I believe, what was the first pro loss of his career. It was a decision to Sean Strickland. Not the best outing from Breeze, but I think he'll be able to rebound here. A little concerned about the layoff. Kind of concerned about what the whole pulling out of the Bamboche fight last minute thing was, sitting out for 2 years, what that was all about. He hasn't talked much about it, so that's what makes this fight interesting to me. Kelly is a good grappler. He's getting better on the feet. His jab is not bad, but Breeze, I think, is just stronger. He's bigger. And at 185, I think he'll be quite the monster, not having to cut down, not having to drain himself. So give me Tom Breeze here. I'll go another decision. I hate the fact that I'm predicting 5 straight decisions to kick off the card, but let's go with it. Tom Breeze by decision. Next up, we got Claudio Silva taking on Nordine Taleb in the welterweight division. Claudio Silva, as far as I know, he has not fought since November 2014 when the same card Ovin St. Preux knocked out Shogun Rua on down in Brazil. Crazy. He is 2-0 in the UFC with wins over Brad Scott, who we already talked about, and rising welterweight Leon Edwards, who's headlining next month for the first time. Those are 2 pretty good wins, but the fact is they happened 4 years ago. I'm concerned about the layoff, so I'll just get my pick right now and then go to you. I like Nordine Taleb here all day. He's a big favorite. The guy is turning into a really good fighter. I don't think he'll ever be a top 5 welterweight. I don't think he'll ever be in the title mix, but this guy puts his hands together well. He has good combos, and his kicks are not bad as well. We don't know much about his ground game. He has no wins by submission, but on the feet, I think he tears apart Silva. Give me Nordine Taleb by knockout in round number 1.
Yeah, Nordine Taleb is really good, and Claudio Silva hasn't fought in my lifetime. Like that's just all the analysis this needs. Like Leon Edwards wasn't even as good a fighter as he was when they fought because it was so fucking long ago. So that win means less than it would just looking at it on paper. Nordine Taleb's a really good fighter. Like that's just it. This is pretty simple.
Yep. Well, that does it for the FS1 prelims, which I forgot to mention, but they kick off at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. With that, let's move on to the 6-fight FS1 main card, which goes down at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We kick things off in the middleweight division, up 15 more pounds. We got Eric Zabrina Spicely taking on Darren the Dentist Stewart. 2 guys badly in need of a win. One guy will get it done, of course, granted they don't go to a draw. Who saves his job in the UFC? Is it Spicely or is it Stewart?
Man, I have no fucking idea here. It would be remiss if I weren't to mention that the last time, or not the last time, but previously when Eric Spicely fought, both you and our illustrious colleague Wes Riddle thought he was going to somehow not get submitted by Antonio Carlos.
2 shows in a row, you've managed to mention a fight that happened, what, 5 months ago?
It's
6 months ago?
It's still the funny. That happened almost a year ago.
A year ago.
Funniest fucking thing in the world that y'all thought his grappling game was going to hold up because he choked Alessio De Chirico and Thiago Santos. You thought he was going to be able to grapple with Shoeface. Is funny as a motherfucker. I guess I'm taking Eric Spicely here because Darren Stewart has a propensity for getting choked out when he wrestles, and he tends to wrestle a frequent amount. And Eric Spicely while he's not good enough to fucking play with Shoeface, he is good enough to tap Darren Stewart. So, but both of these guys aren't very good at fighting. So if Darren Stewart does win, I won't be super shocked. But yeah, give me Eric Spicely by submission.
My nose just started bleeding, so forgive me, but I will fight through this. Give me Eric Spicely here as well. Um, I think he's a better grappler. I think Darren Stewart gets choked out a lot, as you said, and I can't say Eric Spicely wants it more, but I just think stylistically this isn't a great matchup for Darren Stewart. So give me the American here to upset the Liverpool crowd. Of course, Darren Stewart is from England, but give me Eric Spicely to win for the first time in quite a while. And as I said off the top, save his career in the UFC. So give me Eric Spicely, submission, round number 2. With that, let's move along. Way down in the bantamweight division, 135 pounds we go. We got dangerous Davy Grant taking on Manny, the Bermudez Triangle. Bermudez. Fun fight. I think this on the ground could be very exciting. Who do you like here, the Englishman or the American?
Dude, I am not even bullshitting you at all. I have no idea who either of these guys are. I am looking at their records. I have watched every one of these fucking events that they have fought on, and I have no, like, I already forgot what David Grant's face looked like when I scrolled down away from his picture on Tapology. Uh, but here's what I can tell you about this fight. Even though David Grant has a win over Chito Vera, who I have a good deal of respect for as a fighter, he also got tapped out by Damian Stasiak and Chris fucking Holdsworth. And so that kind of tempers any expectation of his grappling game for me. Whereas the Bermudez Triangle is both a great name and this dude can grapple based purely on his wins. So, and Albert Morales is a solid win. So yeah, give me Manny Bermudez, who I'm gonna go ahead and assume is the betting favorite here.
Yeah, Manny Bermudez is the betting favorite indeed, and I apologize that I have to stick a Kleenex up my nose while doing a live video podcast, but c'est la vie. We truck on. Give me Manny Bermudez with the win as well. I think he is the better grappler, and I think both guys are good grapplers. So I think Bermudez is probably going. Well, did you pick Bermudez by submission or decision?
Yes, submission.
Yeah, that this is where that gets. That's where this fight gets interesting because is Grant
If Grant's a good grappler, why does he keep getting tapped out?
Does he? I didn't realize that actually.
Been tapped out twice in the UFC.
Huh. Very interesting. Well, yeah, he got tapped.
Chris
Yeah.
Holdsworth and Damian Stasiak both tapped him. So
Well, yeah. With that, let me go Manny Bermudez by a submission. I was gonna go Bermudez either way. I didn't know whether Grant would be good enough to defend off any submissions. Apparently, that isn't the case in his UFC career thus far. So give me Bermudez by submission in round number 2. With that, we move on to a very fun featherweight fight between Jason the Kid Knight and Makwan, Mr. Finland Amirkhani. He has not fought since March of 2017. It's been a while. He's back in the octagon this Sunday. Do you like him against the Kid, or does Jason Knight return to the winning column?
This is actually an awesome fight. So you could realistically get rid of every other fight we've talked about, and I would not care at all. Even though Nordine Taleb's probably going to turn in like a really cool KO or some shit like that. But frankly, like the rest of that shit, I do think that the Breeze Daniel Kelly fight that at least has merit to being on a UFC event. You cut the rest of these jokers. This fight is gonna be really fun. Both of these guys are fun fighters. Makwan Amirkhani, I think I had him beating Arnold Allen, but I don't really remember that well. I just have this vague recollection of thinking that kind of jumps out at my head as that he did. Whereas Jason Knight, I was big on Jason Knight, but I am getting a little concerned that maybe he is just so averse to defense that that's really going to temper his ability going forward. And when he's fighting, I mean, at the same time, got a win over Dan Hooker. That's cool. But, you know, if you keep doing this the way he's been going his last few, and Ricardo Lamas melted him, Gabriel Benitez, who we saw last week, good fighter, dude can fight. Still just feels like maybe he needs to kind of reevaluate, move camps, get out of just bumfuck Mississippi. And I don't know, like he's coming into Makwan Amirkhani's backyard. It's interesting. I do think that Knight's offense, he's maybe not as potent on single strikes. Makwan Amirkhani might be the bigger hitter individually, but Knight throws a lot more. At the same time, though, he does get hit a lot more, which is very concerning considering Amir Khani is not a light puncher really. And he's like I said, Jason Knight doesn't have any defense, so he can't defensively wrestle. Marco Amir Khani, for all his foibles, is absolutely a solid grappler, and is Jason Knight really going to threaten him off his back significantly? I guess he could, but I don't know that he will. This is a very interesting fight. I'm not looking at the odds right now. I'm going to assume that it is a close to a pick'em, and I'm going to take Amir Khani based on the grappling. Is that who's the favorite? Let's look. Ooh, it is close, but Amir Khani is the underdog. All right. Well, I'm on Amir Khani. That's cool.
Yeah, give me Jason the Kid Knight here. I like him. I guess I was thinking Knight would be the slight underdog, but no, apparently that is not the case according to your book anyways. So give me the Kid here. Another favorite pick for me that, typical Nick Baldwin, right?
That is the Nick Baldwin manifesto.
Special. Yes. Yeah, I like Jason Knight here, though. I think grappling's going to be really close here. Amir Khani is a really good grappler, but Knight is so tricky on the ground. He's very scrappy. I mean, he's kind of people called him Hip Diaz. They still do. He sort of resembles the Diaz brothers in a way. I like Jason Knight's style. I'm concerned about his last performance. He looked pretty bad against Gabriel Benitez. Maybe that's just something a lot of people do. I mean, look at Humberto Bandone. He got slam KO'd this past weekend by Benitez. Benitez is on a roll, so maybe I read too much into that victory, but Jason Knight just looked different in that fight. He looked, I said it when it happened afterwards, that he looked like a guy who came back too soon after having his brakes beaten off by Ricardo Lamas just last summer at UFC 214 in LA, or Anaheim actually. But Knight took a little bit of time off. That's good. Probably not enough. Amir Khani's had a lot of time off. What does the layoff mean for him? I'm not sure. Is he better than he was? Probably. Will there be ring rust? Perhaps. A lot of question marks when it comes to this fight, but I think that's one thing that makes it interesting, but also stylistically, it's really fun, as you said. On the feet, Knight is a little bit better, I think. Amir Khani might have more one-punch KO power. Perhaps that just sort of goes back to his debut. He hasn't won by knockout since. Give me Jason Knight there in a very close fight. I'll say by decision. Moving on, we got the guy that defeated Makwan Amir Khani last. We got Arnold Almighty Allen. I guess I should say Almighty Arnold Allen, returning to the cage himself against Mads Burnell. Jed, Allen is a big favorite here. He is from England. Burnell is from Denmark. Who do you like here?
Yeah, this one's really simple. Arnold Allen's a big favorite for a reason. If this stays standing, he can win, but frankly, it's not going to. Arnold Allen's going to take Mads Burnell down a bunch, and Mads Burnell is an atrocious defensive wrestler. So it's going to be pretty simple. Arnold Allen's going to work his way to a pretty easy, clear-cut decision, if not get a stoppage late.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Arnold Allen is going to run all over Mads Burnell. I'm confident, probably one of the more confident picks of the night. Give me Almighty Arnold Allen with the rebound victory. Not rebound, but I mean, he did get arrested since the last fight, so sort of a rebound in a sense. Yeah, and just FYI, the arrest charges were dropped from what I know. So he's good to go. Give me Arnold Allen here by stoppage. I think he's better on the feet, better on the ground. Burnell might pull off some last-minute submission. Anything can happen in this crazy sport, but most likely Arnold Allen walks the floor with Mads Burnell, wipes the floor, I should say, and wins by stoppage. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we got longtime welterweight contender Neil Magny welcoming former Cage Warriors champion. Is that correct? Was he a champion or just a contender in the promotion? I don't recall, but nonetheless, it is Craig the Thundercat White making his short notice debut in the Octagon. He's of course replacing Gunnar Nelson, who fell out of the contest a little while ago, but they struggled to find a replacement. They were trying to do Neil Magny versus Jorge Masvidal, or at least both sides wanted the fight. It never ended up happening for one reason or another. I believe Masvidal wanted it higher than 170. The UFC, I suppose, said no. Nonetheless, we got Neil Magny versus Craig White. Magny, big favorite for good reason. Craig White, a lot of unknowns. I mean, he's 14-7 without a UFC fight. That's not a great record to enter the UFC with, but does he have a chance here against the number 9 welterweight in the UFC?
No, he does not. That's it. Like, Neil Magny's really good at all the like little pieces of fighting. And that's it. Like, he's not a super athlete. He's not a great finisher. He's not like a threatening fighter, but he's very good tactically. He's always super in shape, and he's Forrest Griffin. He is like Forrest Griffin. He's the welterweight division's Forrest Griffin. And that's good enough to beat random dude coming in on short notice. That none of that plays well against Magny. You need to come at Magny with really potent offense to win, and that's just not what's happening with Craig White. So yeah, give me Neil Magny. Easy enough decision.
Nothing else to add. Neil Magny should be better than Craig White in every area of mixed martial arts: striking, grappling, wrestling, defense, offense, everything when it comes to MMA. Neil Magny is a very good fighter. He's long, he's lanky, he's going to be tricky to beat, or he is a tricky fighter to beat for just about anybody. You have to be real talented to defeat Neil Magny. I mean, the guy has a win over Kelvin Gastelum. He's coming off a win over Carlos Condit, a washed-up Condit, but nonetheless a good win on paper. Yeah, give me Neil Magny all day. I think he'll stop him one way or another. With that, we move on to the main event of the evening. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, former two-time welterweight title challenger, fell short both times against Tyron Woodley, but both were very close fights. He is taking on the undefeated rising star in Darren the Gorilla Till. Jed, very close fight on paper, odds, probably off of paper too. This is going to be great. I love it. Wonderboy Till, who is the pick?
Give me Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I don't feel 100% confident in this pick. Because I do think that there is like a legitimate thing to fighters kind of dropping off after they've come up short for the title. Obviously, the Masvidal fight has happened since then, and Wonderboy still looked good. But basically, the Masvidal fight informs my decision here. I know that there's a lot of difference between Darren Till and George Masvidal. Namely in size. Darren Till is enormous and Masvidal is not. But Masvidal is one of the best technicians in the division as far as striking, and he just really could not get anything going at Stephen Thompson. You have to be bringing a particular type of offense to threaten Stephen Thompson, especially in the striking game. He really is just excellent at that range control and picking his spots to strike. And I like Darren Till as much as the next guy, but the reality is Darren Till's coming in on this. Like, he beat the shit out of Donald Cerrone, who has lost like his last 4 in a row, and that has boosted him in the public eye a lot. Now, if he can end up landing a big shot on Stephen Thompson, it won't be the most surprising thing in the world, but Darren Till does not hit harder than Tyron Woodley, and Tyron Woodley damn near fucking killed Stephen Thompson multiple times, and Thompson gutted through and arguably won both of those fights. If you squint your eyes in a certain light, certainly at least stayed competitive after getting murdered. Darren Till's first time going 5 rounds, not super well built for 5 rounds. He's an enormous dude, cuts a lot of weight. Cardio has been an issue for him before. So even if maybe he has some success early, I think Stephen Thompson's class is going to show here. And over 5 rounds, I think he is going to end up taking the day. Probably getting a late stoppage as Till gets tired. So yeah, give me Wonderboy with a 4th round TKO. Give
me Stephen Wonderboy Thompson here as well. I like him by decision, not by TKO. Yeah, so that makes it all favorites for me this weekend. 12 fights.
No, Stephen Thompson is now an underdog.
Oh, is he?
Yep, odds flipped.
Really?
Yep, every book has him as a very slight underdog now.
Wow, very interesting. I was thinking about going with Dan Kelly for my underdog pick of the week because I've been sitting here thinking, all right, I got all favorites. Who's it going to be?
You got one.
I guess that settles it. So I'll just go into my underdog pick of the week. It's Steven. But the reason I like Stephen Thompson here, I just think he's going to beat Darren Till on the feet. And I think he is probably the best striker in a sense at welterweight. He is a very tricky fighter to beat. And this is going to be a stand-up affair, and I just don't think it's one Darren Till can win. Darren Till is a very big fighter, but so is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Darren Till is very active. He hits harder than Thompson, most likely. But Thompson, he's just a bit better. And I hate using the word better because it's so bland, but he just is. Darren Till is a flashy fighter. He hits hard. He has the big Muay Thai stance. His kicks are super great. But everything I just said about Darren Till, in a way, the same goes for Stephen Thompson. I think Darren Till is going to be chasing Stephen Thompson all night. I don't think it'll be as one-sided as the Jorge Masvidal fight last November for Stephen Thompson, but I do think it kind of looks a little similar. Darren Till will be chasing him, just won't be able to land as much offense as he's used to landing. And I think Stephen Thompson's able to outpoint him over 5 rounds. I don't think he puts the offense together to stop Darren Till. Darren Till's never lost a fight. He's obviously never been finished. I just can't come up with a reason to say he will get stopped here. I think he'll lose. I think he's outmatched here against arguably the best welterweight on the planet. I mean, again, I know he's lost to Tyron Woodley twice, but I'd probably still pick Stephen Thompson in a trilogy fight, as crazy that might sound to some people. And so I like Stephen Thompson here. I don't like him a lot. It is in Liverpool after all. Darren Till is from Liverpool. Maybe we see some home cooking when it comes to the judges if it's a close one. But if it's not, I think Stephen Thompson gets the nod here by unanimous decision in what could be a very exciting fight. And that's UFC Fight Night 130, UFC Liverpool in the books. Let's go on to our bonuses and our underdog pick of the week. I'll just kick things off real quick. My underdog pick of the week, as of now, Thompson. As you said, Stephen Thompson is the underdog. I find that kind of crazy, but I'm going to roll with that all day. Plus money, Stephen Thompson. Can't get much better than that as far as I'm concerned. Go with that. Fight of the night. Oh, Thompson Till really should be it. I hope it wins fight of the night because I want a great main event. I'm actually going to go Jason Knight versus Makwan Amirkhani though. And my performances, I'm going to give 1 to Nordine Taleb and 1 to Neil Magny.
Okay. We got some similars. I'm taking Makwan Amirkhani as my underdog. I actually think Thompson is a more reliable pick than Amirkhani. I'm more confident in it. But since you're picking Thompson, and basically because Thompson is only like sort of an underdog, by the time the fight comes around, he might well flip back to a favorite. I just decided to go with Amirkhani for funsies. My performances, I'm going to go Eric Spicely and Nordine Taleb. I think Taleb's going to get a KO, and I think Spicely's going to get a triangle or some type of submission that might be cool on a fight on a card that's going to have very, very, very few finishes. So I like to play the odds there. Fight of the night, I'm gonna go with the obvious choice, Thompson Till.
All right, yeah, I can't blame you for the main event. I think I'm taking a little bit of a risk picking Knight Amirkhani, but hey, I haven't made picked many risks tonight. Considering Wonderboy is my only underdog.
More importantly, this DraftKings team is the hardest one I've ever had to make because you and I both are picking mostly favorites, and Stephen Thompson is even a favorite on DraftKings. Like, he's cost more money than Darren Till. So it's just a giant, like, I have to pick like 2 fighters that I'm not, because Makwan Amirkhani, my other underdog, is barely an underdog on DraftKings. So, like, I'm going to have to pick 2, and all of the favorites are, like, pretty heavy favorites. Like, this just sucks. I'm going to have to pick 2 fighters that I don't think are going to win, and I'm just kind of shooting in the dark to see what the fuck happens. This thing blows.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, obviously, as anyone could imagine. I have my 2 fighters I'm not picked out, but I'll let you go first if you.
Oh, no. Why? You go first. You go first here, motherfucker.
Yes, I will. Okay, so my team is going to start out with my main event winner, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I wish DraftKings set this later. I wish I got him under 8,000, but hey, can't complain. Stephen Thompson at 8,400, not a bad bet. In my opinion, I got Neil Magny, who I believe is the most expensive. If not, he's damn close to it at 9,500. I got Nordine Taleb. So those are my 3 favorites of sorts. And I also got Jason Knight. And then my 2 big underdogs, old man Dan Kelly and Davey Grant.
Okay. Well, that's really fucking interesting because I still don't know what the hell my team is. Um, I know what I'm gonna have at, I guess, but I don't. Honestly, I'm strongly considering doing the West Riddle special and putting both Darren Till and Stephen Thompson on my team.
Well, I mean,
Um,
Wes isn't here, so we have to have some aspect of him here.
I mean, it's just well, I because honestly, like the other choices, I can take Gina Mazzani, but Darren Till's probably going to get more points than Gina Mazzani, like because they're both going to lose. So it's either hope that Gina Mazzani upsets Lena Landsberg, which is very possible. Like I don't have like a ton of confidence in Lena Landsberg to win this fight or whatever, but is that more likely, or is it more likely that like Stephen Thompson, even in defeat, or Darren Till, even in defeat to Stephen Thompson, gets a lot of points? I, Frankly, I don't know, but I do think it's funny. So I'm going to pick Darren Till. So I'm going to have Stephen Thompson, Darren Till. I will also have Nordine Taleb. I'll share that with you. And then I have Makwan Amirkhani. Arnold Allen is my other big favorite. And then Brad Scott is going to be my underdog just because Pedersoli, the fight's close enough, and Pedersoli's coming in on short notice. I thought, like you, of adding Dan Kelly to my team since he's so cheap and could help offset some costs there. But Dan Kelly's coming off a 2-year layoff, so like,
No, he's not.
is he not?
He fought Elias Theodora months ago.
Are you sure?
I am dead positive.
Is Tom Breeze coming off the layoff? Did I get
Yes.
confused?
Yes.
Are you
Tom Breeze has
100%
not fought
positive?
since June 4th, 2016. Bisbing
You
Rockhold.
you were right. Oh man. Well, now I'm a little more interested in maybe taking that Dan
Dan
Kelly.
Kelly fought in November. He's on a 2-fight skid, knockout to Derek Brunson and Elias Theodore decision. He hasn't won since his win over former champion Rashad Evans. But
I'm sticking with what I did here just because
all
it's
right.
funnier anyway. So yeah, Amir
This is a
Khani,
main event.
Thompson, Scott, Allen,
If
Till.
there's ever a time you're going to have the two main event fighters on the same team, this is probably it. Because I think Till still might clear 50 points in defeat.
I mean, we'll see. And if I'm wrong and Till knocks out Thompson, then hey, at least I'm guaranteed to get a good showing of points from the main event.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll get a really solid showing. It's just like I have no faith in Mazzani or Claudio fucking Silva or any of these underdogs that I would functionally have to pick instead. Like if I'm going to have to pick an underdog, Darren Till's the best of the underdog picks in my opinion. So that's what I'm doing here.
Okay, let's talk a little Bellator 200. I don't have tons to say about really any of the fights. Mirko Krokop, Roy Nelson canceled. That makes Gegard Mousasi versus Rafael Carvalho the main event. I figured since we blew through UFC Liverpool quicker than probably any other card we've done for the show, we might as well talk about probably the last three fights. So let's go to Phil Davis versus Linton Vassell in the light heavyweight division. Who's the pick here? Phil Davis is a massive favorite. I'm a little surprised he's something like minus 600 I saw him at yesterday. That's a little crazy. Vassell's a good fighter. Phil Davis should be favored. I think he'll win. I think he's a better wrestler, and I think he'll sort of do what Ryan Bader did to Vassell, but just in less violent fashion. Are you sort of on the same page?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have any issues with the odds here. Linton Vassell is a perfectly serviceable light heavyweight, but he's just not like he's just not as good as Phil Davis. Like that's just it. That's pretty simple. Like he's just not. So give me Phil Davis, who is a top 5 light heavyweight in the world. Like that's the thing that we don't talk about is that realistically, Bellator has 2 of the 5 best light heavyweights in the world on their roster, which is really fucking cool for them. So it just happens to be 2 light heavyweights that most people don't give a fuck about.
Yeah, and they've had 2 boring fights, so that kind of confirms your statement. So we're both on Phil Davis, the big favorite. The co-main event is Michael Venom Page. He's returning to action against David the Caveman Rickles. A fun one in the welterweight division. Of course, it's not the MVP Paul Daly fight we all want, but I think this is a good step up for MVP. Probably still not a big enough one, but it's better than him versus Can number 3, right?
Yeah, I mean this is a perfectly serviceable step up, except for the fact that like It's one of those fucking things, man. Like, okay, yeah, Michael Venom Page is finally stepping up, but he's still fighting a fucking lightweight.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true. That's true.
like Dave Rickles is a fucking lightweight, and he's a perfectly good lightweight. Like, no disrespect to Dave Rickles, who is one of the better lightweights in Bellator's roster. And frankly, by virtue of that fact alone, he is the toughest fighter that Michael Venom Page has ever faced. Like, it is a big step up in competition for him, but he's still going to have an enormous fucking reach and size advantage here. Assuming he makes weight, like, that's just throwing that out there. I assume that he will make weight. I have no idea. But, this fucking dude fought at middleweight shit. It's a middleweight or a former middleweight against mostly a lightweight. This is just some dumb shit. And, like, it's one of those things that I actually kind of like the way that they promoted Michael Page, just because sometimes you don't need fighters to be great, but, like, let's just not even pretend that he's going to. Like, why even do this? Let's just put him against. This is like climbing a ladder in a stupid way. Either make him start climbing the ladder because he's 31 fucking years old, or just be like, nah, we're gonna pride him and have him just beat the shit out of cans, and it'll be cool. And he can throw pokeballs and get viral with jump knees that are awesome. But, like, this is fucking stupid. I want Michael Venom Page to fight Paul Daly, and I know he doesn't want to do that anymore. Probably because Paul Daly might whip his ass. But yeah, so yeah, MVP's probably gonna win, but I frankly kind of hope Dave Rickles does the damn thing.
Yeah, give me Michael Page. I think he'll. Do you think he stops David Rickles? I'm considering
Probably.
picking him by TKO. David Rickles is really tough, but Page is just bigger. He's stronger, better striker.
Yeah, I mean, David Rickles has been stopped several times before by strikes and guys who are not as potent strikers. Like, I mean, whatever you want to say about MVP, he is not as good a fighter as Michael Chandler or Patrick Fier, but he is a more potent striker than they are by
And
virtue
he's
of being
bigger.
significantly bigger and just a better striker realistically than they are. So yeah, Dave Rickles is going to get styled on once he finally gets going, but I hope he can, take him
I think he
down,
could
make some
turn it
shit
into a
work.
bit of a fight. I think he can hang in there for a little bit and make it a little competitive. But ultimately, I think MVP does stop him late in the fight. I'll say a late second round TKO. That brings us to the main event. The Bellator middleweight title's on the line when champion Rafael Carvalho defends it against former UFC contender Gegard Mousasi. Gegard Mousasi is a decent size favorite here. He actually opened at about minus 190, and I thought it would have been a lot higher than that. Since then, he's been bet up to about minus 350, I believe I last saw him at. I think he should be favored to get the win here. I think he'll become the Bellator middleweight champion. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's weird. His last fight was so bad. He lost Alexander Shlemenko, which is just a. I know Shlemenko is a sneaky good fighter, but that's just Gegard did not look engaged or like he gave a flying fuck in that fight. But at the same time, Rafael Carvalho has not beaten a good fighter, and let me check his record. Nope, nope. Drew in a grappling bout. Nope. If you want to call Brendan Halsey a good fighter, I don't know if I'm willing to go there. Joe Schilling, nope. Brian Rogers, maybe. Maybe. I guess Brian Rogers is the last good fighter, the only real good fighter he's actually beaten. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and assume that Gegard Mousasi, who is a very good fighter, wins.
Yeah, give me Gegard Mousasi. As I said already, the guy should be able to beat Carvalho pretty much everywhere. The guy is one of the best middleweights on the planet. I don't know if I can say the same about Carvalho. He's a very talented fighter. He's been the Bellator middleweight champion for quite a while. I give him props for that. Not a lot of people talk about him just because, he doesn't speak English and all of that. He's just not the most marketable fighter, even compared to other Bellator champions. And so kind of sucks for him, but he's going to get beat up by Gegard Mousasi. One is on a different level than the other, and that happens to be Mousasi over Carvalho. But hey, Carvalho is bigger than him. He has a reach advantage. He's taller, and so maybe he does somehow outpoint him on the feet or something crazy like that. But ultimately, I just can't see it happening, I should say. Give me Gegard Mousasi by, I'll say TKO in the fourth round. I think Carvalho can make it a bit of a fight. But yeah, Musasi's really good, and he should win. Granted, he did almost lose to Shlemenko. Things happen in MMA. Maybe he busts his eye again. Who knows? But as long as things go okay for Musasi as far as injuries go and all that, I think this is going to be a good win for him. Give me Gegard Mousasi by TKO, round number 4, to become the new Bellator middleweight champion. Well, that does it for episode 109 of Before the Battle. Thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. If you enjoy the podcast, go give us a big thumbs up down there and subscribe to my channel down there as well. If you have any feedback for the show, good or bad, drop a message in the comment section down below, and I will reply to you if needed. Thanks again for watching. We appreciate you. Jed, remind everybody where they can find you and your mixed martial arts coverage.
Find all my work at MMAfighting.com. Follow me on Twitter at JedK
There we go. Short and sweet. Find me on Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. You can find all of my writing over at bloodyelbow.com. I published an interview article with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson just a couple days ago, and yesterday, I believe it was, maybe the day before, one with Kevin, the Motown Phenom Lee, talking about why the 165-pound division should be introduced to the UFC and why it will be. He predicted that it will come to fruition, even though Dana White is not exactly in favor of it. I have yet to write this. I plan on writing it tonight, although it's getting late. Maybe I'll have to pull a Jed Meshew and write up my interview with Gegard Mousasi later tonight. If that does happen, which no guarantees, that'll be up sometime tomorrow on Bloody Elbow, and I'd appreciate if you could read that as well. I think that's it. Thank you all for watching. Once again, we really appreciate you all. For Jed Meshew, I am Nick Baldwin. Enjoy the fights on Friday and Sunday.
Love you guys.